Hello, I'm Rob Phillips. Welcome to my channel. So for today, we're going to be doing a 30-minute Yin Yoga practice for complete beginners. Now, for those of you who know nothing about Yin Yoga, I'm going to recommend watching my Principles of Yin Yoga video because I go a bit more in depth about some of the subtle nuances of this practice. With that said, I'm going to try and include as much of that as possible in today's class as well. So in terms of props, I know maybe if you're new to yoga, you might not have a lot of them available, but I'm going to highly recommend grabbing a blanket, a thick towel, even like a cushion from your couch or something like that, just so that we can lift the hips up a little bit, just so that you can have some cushion if you need it. And with that said, if you don't have anything like that lying around, no problem. We can do it without the props altogether if needed. So with that all the way, let's find our way into a comfortable seat and let's get started here. So as you find your comfortable seat here, I might recommend sitting up on your blanket just so you can get a little bit of height happening beneath the hips. You don't have to sit in a perfect cross leg. You can use any props or cushions that you want. And with that said too, if you don't feel comfortable sitting on the floor for a very long time, you're welcome to start out on your back for the opening meditation. But finding your posture here, and once you've done so, please close the eyes. Hands can rest on the knees as mine are here. They could rest on the lap or really anywhere that's comfortable. With your eyes closed, do take a few moments here and just kind of fine-tune your posture. You can lean a little forwards or a little back. Try to find that nice sweet spot where you can naturally lift all the way up through the crown of the head. Once you've found that point, softening the shoulders, relaxing any tension in the eyebrows or the cheeks. And from this stable posture, just beginning to notice how you feel right here in this moment. So as we'll see here in this Yin Yoga practice, we deliberately slow down. We deliberately let ourselves be quite a bit more quiet. And the intention behind this comes from the name of the practice. This is Yin Yoga. So that word yin comes from the pairing yin and yang. Things which are more yin in nature tend to be slower moving, maybe cooler, more stable. Things that are more yang in nature tend to be more fluid, maybe fiery, dynamic, those sort of qualities. So in this form of practice, we're deliberately cultivating this more cool, stable, grounded sort of energy as a way to balance the more kind of dynamic or fiery energies that dominate most of our lives. And so as you settle here, it's normal for thoughts to arise. It's normal to feel maybe a little restless, especially if you are new to this practice. But what we can do instead is cultivate a sense of letting go, of relaxing into the experience as best we can. So if you notice any tension arising within your body, can you soften that? Can you let that go? If the attention drifts, maybe just bring the mind back again and again to what you feel in the body. You can feel the ground beneath you, you can feel the movements of your breath. And I promise that as we drop in more and more within our sequence, the mind will settle. You will feel a bit more naturally at ease, a bit more naturally quiet here. So let's just allow ourselves a few more slow breaths here, dropping in. Notice what it's like to be a bit more still. Notice what it's like for you to cultivate this yin energy within your body, within your mind. Together here now, let's take gentle inhale breath through our nose. Gentle exhale breath out our mouth. Lower the chin down and slowly open your eyes. So our first official pose for today will be in seated. So if you are on your back to start, I'm going to recommend coming up into your seat. Again, it's a good idea to lift the hips up on a blanket or a cushion just so you can help with the tilt of the pelvis and just so you can sit a little bit more comfortably here as we work into our first proper pose. And that pose will be butterfly shape. So for butterfly, we're going to take the feet together about a good foot or so in front of us. We're not trying to pull in super tight, but we're not letting the feet be super far away either. We want to kind of like split the difference, right? So as we come in here, the target areas for the pose will be the inner thighs, the outer hips. So as we come in, you're going to feel something there. You're going to want to be particularly mindful that you feel nothing in the knees. So if you do, you might need to adjust either closer or farther. If you have something around that you could slide under the knees, that can be a good way to support. And if none of these options work for you, you can lie down on your back and just kind of lie in a similar shape with the legs propped up. But once you've got your basic setup in place here, we can rest the hand somewhere in front of us. We'll take a gentle inhale breath to lift. And with a slow exhale, easing our way forwards, any amount here. So the amount that we come forwards in the pose is going to be dictated by what we feel within our body. Now that kind of noticing the sensations is really fundamental to this Yin Yoga practice. So in general, we want to come just far enough into the pose that we feel a light to moderate edge of sensation. So here you might particularly notice that in the hips or the thighs. You might notice a little bit of pull onto the back body, and that's okay. Just making sure that there's not this tension around the neck or the shoulders, and definitely making sure that the intensity of sensation is moderate. Never creeping into anything sharp, never working with anything that kind of makes us restless or makes it feel like we might be doing too much. If things get at all electrical, sharp, or intense, that could be a sign that you need to back out of the pose a little bit, that you need to change your edge in some way. So in this Yin Yoga practice, there's not a definite alignment for any given person. It's all individual based on what we're feeling. So as you start to tune in to that light to moderate edge, let yourself relax. Let yourself settle even just a little bit more. As we relax the muscles, this allows us to work a little bit deeper within our body, allows us to target some denser layers of tissue. And this ability to work deeper beneath the surface really is one of the primary benefits of this style of yoga, of this type of practice. So just scan the body one last time here, and if there's anywhere at all that you feel like you are holding tension, like you might be gripping or clenching, can you let that go? Let that tightness fall away. And just notice the sense of space that remains. Start to get your first real sense of that here in this very first pose of the main sequence. And just take one more moment here in the pose. And before we go anywhere, just understanding that built into this practice is the intention to move in and out of the poses slowly. So taking your time, you can gently inhale, start to roll up. As you come up here, you might want to roll the shoulders, you might want to roll around the neck. And let's also carefully extend the legs out and in front of us, maybe shake them around a little bit in the hip joint. And so from here, we're going to come into what we call a resonance pose, which is basically a neutral shape where we're going to let the body kind of integrate the effects of that first pose. And we're going to take that here on our belly. So you can come up off your blanket, clear everything out from underneath you, and just rest in a prone position, something like this. And you can close your eyes as you settle here. So in this resonance pose, just noticing how the body responded to that first posture of our main sequence. It's normal to feel a little achy, a little delicate as we come out. What I love about this Yin Yoga practice is, as you do it more regularly, as it becomes part of your routine, the body really learns to accept this sort of work. There's not so much friction, and it starts to become something that we really look forward to. We start to really notice those benefits. So here for now, let's just take a gentle inhale breath through our nose. A gentle exhale breath out our mouth. Next posture will happen here on our belly, and that will be a Sphinx pose. So you're going to rise up here onto your forearms. So on your forearms, the intention is to create a mild compression in our lower back. So mild being the key word here, just a little bit of effect of the vertebra pushing together. To fine-tune this, you can play with taking the hands closer or further. Generally, you want them, more or less under the shoulders. If you prefer, you can relax the chest down, you can relax the head down. You could even grab like a yoga block or something to park under the forehead if you'd like. Close the eyes here and begin to settle and just notice what you're feeling. And we want that kind of dull, spread out sensation. Nothing electric, nothing sharp. If you do feel anything that has that sort of quality to it, you're going to want to adjust. And remember, you're always welcome to leave the pose early altogether. You don't have to stay for the entire time. As you settle here, relax. Relax the legs, relax the belly. Use just that very light amount of effort in the arms to hold yourself up here. In this slow-moving practice, we hold each posture for several minutes. Again, with this kind of deeper intention of cultivating a yin sort of energy, of deliberately slowing down, of deliberately taking our time. But also because on a purely physical level, by taking our time like this, by working really gradually, we can affect the tissues in kind of a more subtle way than the more dynamic forms of exercise that we're used to, than the more dynamic forms of yoga that we might be used to as well. And the nice thing is, as long as we're feeling that safe sort of sensation, as long as things aren't too much, the practice will do the work for us. We just set up the pose and linger there. For now, we'll take just a few more slow breaths in the Sphinx pose. Again, I'm going to invite you just to notice, is there anything you're still holding on to? Why not let that go too here? Find just a tiny bit more space if you can. Take a gentle inhale breath right where you are. And a slow exhale. You can wing the elbows out. Lower back down to the belly. Feel that resonance. Feel the lingering effects in your lower back. Maybe consider taking a few slightly deeper breaths into the back. You can use those breaths to circulate some energy, to help things balance out just a little bit. Again, before we transition, you might appreciate just taking a gentle inhale through your nose, a gentle exhale out your mouth, and then using your hands, press the hips back towards a child's pose. So rounding into the spine, creating kind of a counter shape. And don't worry if you can't get all the way back, just kind of pressing so you feel a little bit of length, a little bit of decompression here for a few moments. Let's take just like 2 or 3 breaths here. From here, when you're ready, we'll now find our way back upright. So next pair of poses that we're going to do for today are called deer pose. It's another outer hip opener, as is our focus. So to set up deer pose, I like to come into a seated position with my feet flat on the floor, kind of something like this, more or less close to the front of your mat. So as you set yourself up here, we're going to take the feet a little bit off the left edge of our mat, so that as I now roll over onto the right side, I can park my hip flat on the floor, and I can park my left leg somewhere alongside it. Here's a case where you might consider grabbing your blanket. You might want that extra bit of cushion, that extra bit of support for yourself. Make sure, again, that you don't feel anything significant going on in your knees. You're going to want to adjust and be particularly careful with that. Once you've got your basic setup in place, you'll take an inhale breath to extend and an exhale to walk your way forwards. Doesn't matter how close to the floor you get, doesn't matter the exact angle or placement of things. All that matters is what we feel within the body. Again, our main target here would be the outer right hip, but you may also feel some release on the back. You may also feel some release on the inner left thigh, or really anywhere else at all is totally fine. As long as that sensation is mild to moderate, as long as that sensation is spread out and diffuse, that's what we are intending to work with here. Having found that, let the body become still and relax. Settle here. With the floor beneath you, maybe even feeling a sense almost like you're melting into the earth. Letting go more and more. Again, as the attention might drift, just bring it back to the body. Let that be your anchor. Let that be your home base. And if, as you tune in here, there's anything at all that it feels like you're holding on to, any gripping, any tension, let that go. Each time that you let go, you can find new space. You can find new opening within the pose. Each time that we settle in here, we're cultivating that yin energy. We're working with kind of the deeper intentions of this practice. We're going to take just a few more slow breaths here. Give yourself just a few more moments to relax, a few more moments to settle in this shape. Take a final complete breath right where you are. And carefully and gradually press yourself up and away from the earth. I recommend extending the legs out in front. And don't worry if they're not perfectly straight. Don't worry if the body feels a little clunky right now. Just give yourself a little pause. Take a few breaths. Let that all settle. And let that all integrate for a few moments. Set up second half of that deer pose. You can open your eyes. Plant the feet onto the floor here. Again, the knees are going to be bent something like this. And you'll take the feet a bit off the right edge of your mat so that now as you roll over here, you'll end up on that left side hip, but with the mat underneath you. Right leg, as with the first side, will tuck somewhere alongside you. maybe on top of a blanket if you want some extra support going on. And with this all set up, take your gentle inhale to extend and a slow exhale to walk forwards, to relax and settle right here. Again, we're intending to target especially that outer left hip, but you might feel some kind of other effects along the way. That's totally fine too. And little by little as we relax, little by little as we settle, we access that deeper level of space within the body. Maybe now that we've been at this for a little while, can you notice perhaps a certain sense of calm starting to open up within your mind as well? So there's a strong connection between the body and the mind. So as we practice settling into physical stillness, that makes it all the easier to settle into a certain level of mental stillness. But I'll also add, especially if you're new to this, don't be discouraged. If there is restlessness, if the mind isn't settling, no problem. It's a practice. It takes time, takes some consistency. But each time we do this sort of work, it gets a little bit easier. It becomes a little more natural for us to drop in this way. For now, in terms of this pose, we're going to take just a few more deep breaths. Again, I'll invite you just to scan the body one more time, just to let go of anything at all you're still holding on to. Take a final complete breath here in this pose. Feel your final moment. Gently press into the earth. Start to lift your way up. And sweep your legs out and in front of you. Let them extend, let them move a bit. From here, we're going to make our way onto our back. And that's actually where we'll be for the remainder of our sequence. I'm just going to flip myself around. So as you lie down, give yourself a little moment to resonate here. Depending on your mat, depending on your neck and shoulders, you can even park your blanket or a cushion behind the head. Just make sure you're not propped up too high like a pillow in bed. You want to be relatively flat. But take a few moments here and just find a few nice deep breaths. Feel how the body has settled. Feel that sense of resonance within the pose. And from here, before we wrap up and take our final resting pose, we'll tie this all together with a pair of twists. So I'll have you walk both feet in, knees will be bent. Maybe do like a little windshield wiper, a little sway side to side. And then from here, draw the knees up and slowly roll all the way over onto your left side. From your left side, you're going to keep the knees over and any amount extend the right arm here. So placing it onto the floor so it's nice and comfortable. Maybe parking your left hand on top of the thighs. You can decide if you want to turn over to the right or to the left. Find a position that's comfortable for your body and we'll linger here. Let yourself settle. Let yourself be still. Feel that release on the right side body and the right side shoulder. Nice way to tie together all of the poses we've done today. Again, make sure this feels comfortable. It doesn't need to be a huge twist, just a moderate to mild wringing out of the right side body in particular. What are you holding on to that you might be able to let go of? How does it feel to tune into the space that remains as you let go like this? We'll feel that on the side for just a few more breaths. Feel a final moment here where you are. Take one more breath and slowly wind your way into the middle. As you wind your way into the middle, you can do a little easy windshield wiper side to side. Just let yourself relax, let yourself settle here for a few moments. And then from here, as you're ready, you can draw the knees into the chest. Slowly roll over onto your right-hand side. And from your right-hand side, opening the left shoulder out onto the floor. You can look that direction, or you could look to the right if you'd prefer. Consider resting the hand onto the thigh if you'd like. Again, how far you go will depend on your body. You just want to feel that light to moderate pull on the left side. Once you've dialed that in with eyes closed, let yourself be still here. Let yourself really relax here. No place at all that you're trying to get. No place at all that you need to be other than right here in your body, in this moment. And take just a few more deep breaths here. A few more moments to relax, a few more moments to let go in this easy side twist. Final complete breath right here where you are. Now slowly, as you inhale, wind your way into the middle. Place the feet on the floor and just do an easy sway side to side. Easy release for the lower back. From here, we will set up for our final pose, which is Shavasana, simple resting pose. So you can extend the legs on the floor. Keep in mind if it's particularly cool where you're practicing, maybe covering up with your blanket is a good idea. Another good idea if you do have a blanket available is to rest that on top of the hips, just giving yourself kind of a grounding weight. And again, if you don't have a blanket, no problem. Just work in whatever way is comfortable for you. But spread out the body onto the mat and close your eyes. So even though this was a slow-moving practice and it was a relatively short practice at just 30 minutes, still important to give ourselves this truly neutral pause, to really give the body and mind some time to integrate the deeper work we've done. So with the body relaxed here, with everything settled, just one last time, take a gentle inhale breath through your nose. Open up your mouth as you exhale and let absolutely everything go. We'll lay here quiet and still for just a few more minutes. So from here on your back as you are, just taking final few moments to tune in. Notice what effects this pause have had on both the body as well as the mind. From your back, you can start to introduce some little movements, fingers and toes, hands and feet as you're ready. Eventually allowing for those movements to take you onto your side, and from your side, you can press your way up into a comfortable seat with closed eyes. Final moment here, tuning in, really feel all the effects practice has had for you. To formally end this practice, I'm going to do a short offering of metta or loving kindness. So I'll say just a few words, and if the meaning of these words creates a connection for you, consider repeating these words internally to deepen that connection for yourself. And join hands in front of the heart. May all beings be safe. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings live with ease and freedom from suffering. And may we dedicate our practice for the benefit of all beings. We bow. So thank you so very much for joining me for this beginner's Yin Yoga practice. If you have any thoughts or questions, certainly let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this practice, please give me a like. Please subscribe to my channel because that's the best way to help me grow as a teacher. Otherwise, thank you all so much, and I hope to see you back for practice very soon.